Well, Bill and Sade, accepting a plea agreement would mean that Sean Combs would have to admit to trafficking and force. And today he made it very clear that was not going to happen. Diddy maintained all along these encounters involved consenting adults and plans to take his chances that a jury agrees.
Well, it's not up to me. It's up to Mr. Combs, and I don't see it happening.
Why?
Because he believes he's innocent. He believes he's innocent. And what's more, he believes that he needs to stand up, not just for himself, for his family, and for everybody who's been targeted by the federal government.
Christian Combs, Sean Diddy Combs' eldest son, is reportedly moving behind the scenes with federal prosecutors in New York. And this is happening just days before his father's explosive trial kicks off on serious STNR charges.
Back up a little bit, please.
How can you support your father? How do you support him moving forward?
Two law enforcement insiders just confirmed that court records reviewed on Friday include a sealed memo detailing what's expected from a family witness. And yep, defense attorneys claim that mystery witness is none other than 27-year-old rapper King Combs. Prosecutors believe Christian has inside knowledge about private jets, exclusive guest lists, and under-the-table money moves tied to Diddy's infamous Hamptons and Miami parties, the same ones now sitting dead center in this high-stakes investigation. These wild gatherings, running from 2015 to 2022, line up directly with the alleged ST ring outlined in last year's jaw-dropping indictment. And if Christian's cooperation comes through, it could flip this entire case upside down. Former Assistant U.S. Attorney Mark Diaz weighed in, saying family testimony like this is rare and incredibly damaging, especially in conspiracy cases, like this one. Diddy recently turned down a plea deal that would have capped his sentence at 12 years, and his defense team is gearing up for an all-out courtroom war. Now, while that confidential memo filed Tuesday doesn't clearly state whether Christian secured a formal immunity deal, insiders say everything sped up after Homeland Security raided Diddy's LA and Miami homes in March, seizing phones, laptops, and stacks of financial records.
I literally took one sip of my beverage and the whole side of my face felt like I had a stroke.
Isn't that, to my mind, that's one of the bigger hurdles in selecting a jury this coming week, is that there is, at least anecdotally, and, when I talk to people, they have that opinion, strongly held opinion, that there's celebrity tapes, that they've kind of conflated Epstein, and you mentioned Ghislaine Maxwell and all of these things into Diddy. There's this idea that somehow this is Epstein redux or something.
According to defense teams who've seen the files, at least 14 of those devices reportedly contain father-son convos prosecutors now want verified through live testimony. If convicted on all counts, Diddy could be staring down more than 20 years behind bars. Meanwhile, Christian, who hasn't been hit with any charges yet, might be trying to quietly distance himself from the legal fallout by striking a behind-the-scenes deal. Defense consultant Yusuf Roberts, a former DEA agent now advising witnesses in similar ST cases, revealed that any family member who witnessed shady deals or was involved in sketchy money moves instantly landed on the Fed's radar once those devices got snatched. And it gets even wilder. Messages pulled from an encrypted app allegedly show Christians setting up luxury charter flights, flying big-name guests to secret all-white parties in the Hamptons, plus crazy yacht bashes in Biscayne Bay. Prosecutors argue those private flights, funded by shell companies tied to Bad Boy Entertainment, are crucial evidence to prove Diddy was running an organized operation, moving people across state lines for illegal purposes. Diddy's legal team is clapping back hard, though claiming those jets were simply carrying celebrities to regular industry events, denying any shady intent. In a Thursday filing, lead defense attorney Aaron Sussman blasted the government for weaponizing family ties, saying forcing a son to testify against his father hits a new low, even for celebrity courtroom dramas. Sussman urged Judge R.N. Subramanian to review the sealed testimony before trial, but the judge said he'll wait until Christian faces jury selection questioning. As for Christian's camp, they're staying tight-lipped, citing legal restrictions, though a source close to him confirmed he's already met with prosecutors twice in early April.
What made you come here to support Puff?
I'm supporting Puff because he's innocent, and I'm wholeheartedly believing his innocence, and I know he's innocent. So,
So you think you know he's innocent?
1,000%.
Mr. Combs feels A, he's innocent, which is why he's not going to plead guilty. B, he's going to be truthful about this case because he wants to portray that to the people who have loved him his whole life. And I think he also feels an obligation to people in general. Maybe it's black people, maybe it's white people, maybe it's anybody who's ever felt aggrieved and targeted by the government. He feels an obligation to those people to say, you know what, maybe I can break the model. You know, maybe I can show the world that a black man can win, you know, in federal court. And I think he probably is the only person I know of who might be able to actually accomplish that.
And when the judge did, Diddy, who was sitting at the defense table with his attorneys, did not show any signs of emotion. He took a sip of water before he was led out of the courtroom by the U.S. Marshals. Now, his lawyers have vowed to
Word
fight
is
this.
Christian
They are
Combs
going
had
to
those
be
sit-downs with
back in court on
prosecutors while
Wednesday
his own
before
legal team
the
was
judge
right
will
there in the
oversee
room.
this trial
And guess
try
what?
to get
That
Diddy to be
timing lines
released.
up exactly with when Diddy's camp started venting that they were being completely left in the dark. Insiders say that's when the heat really started turning up. Not just on Diddy, but on the entire celebrity circle that once revolved around his empire. Last week, 50 Cent jumped into the mix online, claiming he's got court papers listing big-name celebs who cashed in on deals linked to Diddy's businesses. And yep, prosecutors are already chasing that lead. They've subpoenaed records for celebrity event payments, brand endorsement checks, and exactly how the money was chopped up behind closed doors. Right now, no other family members have officially stepped up, but sources say investigators have reached out to both Justin Combs and Quincy Brown, inviting them for voluntary interviews. The reaction inside Black Hollywood? Split down the middle. Some veteran industry heads feel for Christian, caught between loyalty and survival. Others argue it's his responsibility to come clean. The culture can't call for the truth and then slam the first family member brave enough to step up, said veteran music journalist Danielle Harper, who's covered Bad Boy since day one. Let's not act like Diddy's influence wasn't legendary from the mid-90s all the way through the pandemic. His summer parties pulled in Mary J. Blige, Usher, Beyonce, Jay-Z, even athletes, actors, and tech giants. But now prosecutors say those events weren't just about partying. They claim those gatherings acted as recruiting grounds for Diddy's alleged ST operation. Diddy's legal squad calls that a complete fantasy, a made-up narrative to take down a mogul. Still, legal experts say when a family member flips, it's a game changer. The paper trails show how it happened, but relatives explain why, said Grace Harris, a Loyola law professor who studies celebrity crime cases. And jurors? They pay extra attention when someone from inside the house is on the stand. According to sources, the sealed memo lists 6 major topics Christians prepared to testify about, from private jet passenger manifests to payment orders from shell companies, live party group chats, security assignments, post-party money splits, and how they handled media sniffing around. Diddy's legal team's not backing down, though. They're gearing up to challenge every claim arguing Christian wasn't in charge and didn't know about any illegal dealings. But this case is clearly driving a major generational split inside the Combs family.
Now, as far as jury selection goes, I think the biggest takeaway for me is that both sides expect to have all of this done in the matter of 3 days. Now, given just how high profile this trial is, I was kind of stunned that they seem very confident that they will be able to seat a jury in that amount of time.
What happens is if people go into a trial believing the firepower on the prosecution is so strong, I mean, let's say on a scale of 1 to 100, it's a 95, that it's so strong, but it goes down to an 88. That helps the defense because everybody goes in thinking, wow, they're going to prove this, and they're going to prove this, and they're going to prove this, and all of a sudden, none of it's there. I think that actually helps the defense.
Earlier this year, Christian went public on social media saying he's all about music and fashion, not finance or business deals. Friends close to him say those March raids rattled him hard, especially after footage leaked showing armed agents swarming Diddy's LA mansion, a place where Christian often recorded music. That plea deal Diddy rejected? It would have forced him to admit to 1 count of R and another linked to ST, surrender all firearms seized in March, and cough up a jaw-dropping $20 million in forfeitures. But his attorneys threw it out fast. calling the offer extreme and branding Diddy as some kind of mastermind. "No deal that paints our client as a conspirator will ever be acceptable," lead attorney Aaron Sussman told reporters outside the courthouse. Now, all eyes are locked. On Monday's jury selection expected to be a full-blown media circus. Courtroom seats are being assigned by lottery, and legal insiders say prosecutors plan to hit hard straight out the gate, laying out what they describe as a sophisticated operation that mixed legit business with darker under-the-table activities. Prosecutors claim Diddy's nightlife empire and spirits business were covers for more serious crimes. Meanwhile, his defense says this case is nothing but twisting consensual adult relationships into criminal charges, with opportunistic witnesses chasing big payouts from civil lawsuits. And if the judge gives the nod for Christian to testify, this whole trial could shift overnight. Insiders say prosecutors might even lead with him, putting him on the stand before any other witnesses, whose names are still under wraps. Former U.S. Attorney Mark Diaz says starting with a close family member is a bold but smart play. "It locks the story in early," he explained. Meanwhile, industry insiders are already feeling the fallout. Some major liquor distributors have put delay on tequila orders on hold until they see how this plays out. At the same time, streams of the Bad Boy back catalog are spiking, with fans diving back into the music that shaped an era. And culturally, the weight of a son possibly. Testifying against his father in a case this big is hitting the community hard.
The last hearing before Sean Combs' trial starts, when he walked into federal court today, he appeared to be looking for his family. They've pretty much been at all of the hearings that I've been to, but there was no presence of his sons or his mother or his sister who had previously been at those hearings.
Do you still think that, because there is this public perception, that there are celebrity tapes involved in this case?
No.
Do you still think that there are minors involved in this case?
I'm certain no.
Okay.
And again, when you say this case, we're talking the criminal case.
The criminal case.
In the
correct.
criminal,
I know that.
In the criminal case.
The,
in the criminal case,
right.
No.
Families often carry the silent scars of AB, said Monique Reed, head of the Black Women's Justice Collective. If this trial gives survivors a voice, it's bigger than just one courtroom. As of now, Christian still hasn't filed. Any official witness affidavit, and Diddy's attorneys retain the right to block certain questions in court if answering could put Christian at risk of self-incrimination. Court docs show a major status hearing is locked in for 8 a.m. Monday, 30 minutes before jury assembly begins. Meanwhile, Sean Combs remains behind bars at Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center with no bail, after Judge Subramanian ruled back in March that the new accusations, along with the firearms discovered in the raids, justified keeping him in custody. Diddy's legal team is now pushing a new bail request, this time citing family health emergencies. But prosecutors aren't budging, arguing Diddy has too many global connections and resources to risk him disappearing. Christian, meanwhile, is staying active online, promoting his upcoming EP on social media. But for now, all tour dates are on hold. A spokesperson for CYN Music Group said the label respects the legal process and won't be making any further comments at this time. Monday's court date, every eye is locked on it.
Back up a little bit, please.
How can you support your father? How do you support him moving forward?
At trial, Combs will ditch the jail garb and wear ordinary clothes, as his lawyers argue the evidence shows consenting adults being intimate in their own way.
We have the latest from federal court in the Sean Combs criminal case. Status of jury selection, what Diddy's going to be wearing, violation of a gag order, rejecting a plea offer.
First off, the court needs to decide whether Christian's cooperation deal is even admissible. But then comes the real challenge, finding a jury that can stay neutral in one of the most talked about celebrity trials in years. Newly unsealed court docs just dropped a bombshell. Sean Diddy Combs allegedly funneled over $74 million through a web of 17 shell companies between 2016 and 2023. Prosecutors say these shady transactions are the heart of the STNR case heading to trial Monday in Manhattan's U.S. District Court. These financial records, attached to a late Friday filing, show wire transfers moving from core Bad Boy Entertainment accounts into LLCs set up in Delaware, Nevada, and even the British Virgin Islands. Investigators say this setup funded private Gulfstream flights, luxury rentals in the Hamptons, and top-tier security, all mentioned in earlier affidavits. Prosecutors claim Diddy created a multi-layered business network to avoid personal liability. Forensic accountant Lydia Mercado, hired by the feds, says she spotted identical five-figure withdrawals just hours before exclusive events, the same events court docs label as high risk. But here's the twist: 2 invoices reportedly show Christian. Combs signed off as the internal approver for yacht rentals and catering. That puts his name right on the money trail, linking him deeper into the unfolding cooperation mentioned in Thursday's sealed memo. Diddy's lead attorney, Aaron Sussman, didn't hold back, calling the ledgers just standard business expenses. In a letter to Judge Aaron Subramanian, he slammed the government for turning everyday hospitality costs into a criminal blueprint, but the drama didn't stop there. Another surprise hit late in the week. Federal agents served a supplemental warrant at J.P. Morgan Chase, pulling records linked to De Leon Tequila's marketing funds. A source close to the probe says agents flagged a $900,000 transfer from the tequila arm to a dormant media company owned by one of Diddy's longtime advisors. The next day, that same money allegedly paid for a private jet charter, flying 8 unidentified passengers from Teterboro, New Jersey to Nassau, Bahamas, part of the infamous White Sands weekend mentioned in the indictment. Music execs and corporate sponsors were scrambling by Friday to check their own exposure. Revolt TV dropped a statement denying any ties to those shell companies, saying they would cooperate fully if subpoenaed. Meanwhile, Diageo, parent company of Ciroc and Kai Vodka, who cut ties with Combs last year, confirmed after their own internal audit that they no longer had any financial links with him. But branding experts warn that if the trial exposes the gritty behind-the-scenes logistics of Diddy's empire, it could break the trust luxury liquor brands built in the urban market back in the 2000s. And that's not all.
Diddy's lawyers had argued that he had made good faith efforts by showing up in New York, ready to surrender to face these charges, but prosecutors said that he could not be trusted, that he has a history of trying to intimidate witnesses, including some who are going to be witnesses in this case. They urged the judge to remand him.
He knows the deck is stacked against him. They've got a ton of evidence. Take the plea deal, dude. Just take it.
Well, my guess is that, because we don't know the deal of the plea deal. At least I don't think we do.
True.
Okay.
The ledgers also reveal $6.4 million in donations, including $450,000 to Howard University and $300,000 to a youth arts group in LA. Sounds generous, right? Well, hold up. Prosecutors say some of those same donations were followed by matching withdrawals from Diddy's personal accounts, hinting that he might have used these charity moves to secretly refill his own pockets. That's circular financing, said former IRS criminal investigator John Mendez. Charity becomes a pressure release when banks start asking too many questions. And don't forget the witness list, it's stacked. 3 former aviation staffers are ready to testify, including one mechanic who claims flight logs were wiped clean of passenger names before audits. He says this was justified by Combs' aviation manager as VIP privacy. But Diddy's legal team calls it a distraction, prejudicial nonsense that shouldn't even make it to court. In a rare weekend twist, Judge Subramanian scheduled arguments for Sunday afternoon, showing just how tight the timeline really is for this case. And the music world? It's on fire again. The new financial disclosures sparked a fresh round of debate. Should former bad boy artists speak out? Mary J. Blige's team stayed tight-lipped when asked about rumors she might be subpoenaed. Usher's reps say he hasn't been contacted by anyone involved in the case. But 50 Cent took it up a notch, posting screenshots of the newly unsealed ledgers and tweeting, "I tried to warn y'all." Columbia University's sociology professor, Marciana Morgan, says all the online buzz shows there's a generational clash brewing, especially on Black Twitter. Hashtags like Thaug shares Protect King Combs and Black Wall of Silence both trended, drawing a clear divide. Some are backing Christian for stepping forward, while others feel prosecutors are targeting Black-owned empires by turning family members into pawns of the system.
The decision guarantees Combs will face trial beginning just 4 days from now that will test whether one of music's most prolific figures used his power, wealth, and fame to exploit both women and men for decades.
Elaborate, sometimes days-long parties by coercing victims through drugs, threats, and manipulation. They claim to have video evidence, and some of the accusations echo details from over 70 civil lawsuits filed against Combs over the last 30 years.
Major developments tonight involving the case against Sean Diddy Combs, what he decided in court today, and what this now means, the move coming just 4 days before his trial is set to begin. Here's Aaron Katursky.
Cultural commentator Michael Harriot didn't hold back, saying for many, the justice system has never been trustworthy. When the feds roll out ledgers, some see facts, others see another Tuskegee, he pointed out, referencing the deep-rooted mistrust that goes way beyond just this case. The drama even hit Capitol Hill. Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley urged the Justice Department to release anonymized data on how celebrity ST cases are charged, voicing concerns that high-profile trials, like this one, could distract from real justice reform. So far, the DOJ hasn't responded. Inside Combs Enterprises, things are shaking up fast. On Friday morning, senior execs jumped on an emergency board call. COO Tarek Brooks reportedly told the team they're considering selling off minority shares of the Sean John Fashion Archive and putting a major Miami hospitality launch on hold. Some employees even got warnings about potential furloughs if this legal storm drags on. Back in court, jury selection is already underway. Judge Subramanian is taking his time, vetting jurors carefully, and instructing them to avoid media and social media to keep things fair. Every potential juror is filling out a 24-page questionnaire asking about their familiarity with Diddy's music, their opinions on conspiracy charges, and whether they know any of the 162 potential witnesses. The jury process is expected to take 3 days, with opening statements possibly kicking off as early as Thursday. The defense is sticking to its claim that prosecutors are blowing things out of proportion, turning adult nightlife into a crime scene. Defense attorney Aaron Sussman plans to call sociologist Katrina Bell to explain that VIP parties often involve confidentiality agreements, but that doesn't make them criminal. Prosecutors, though, are bringing in digital forensic analyst Omar Velasquez, who claims encrypted chats show pre-arranged guest pairings, strengthening their ST allegations.
Tonight, Sean Combs makes it official. He's rejecting the government's offer to plead guilty and spare himself the possibility of a prolonged term in prison. When asked if he turned down the offer, Combs answered, "Yes, I do, Your Honor," as he stood in a baggy beige jail uniform. Terms were not disclosed, but prosecutors did say a plea could result in a shorter sentence for Combs than if he's convicted.
Federal trafficking, racketeering, and charges beginning Monday morning.
Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs back behind bars, a magistrate judge denying him bail, saying that there were no conditions that she could conceive of that would make her confident that he would appear again for other court appearances. The judge saying, "My concern is this is a crime that happens behind closed doors."
Velasquez will also present location data from seized phones, placing Diddy's security team, certain guests and staff at off-site apartments after the official parties wrapped up. And the fallout? It's not just legal. It's financial, too. Sotheby's confirmed they've delayed the auction of Diddy's contemporary art collection, originally set for July. A spokesperson said they can't promise a clear title while federal forfeiture is hanging over it. Meanwhile, Warner Music Group's execs called an emergency risk committee to figure out if streaming money flowing through Combs-controlled publishing companies could get frozen under asset seizure rules. At a separate press event, National, Urban League president Mark Morial urged the public to separate due process from moral judgment, but admitted this case could overshadow Diddy's philanthropic efforts. Howard University hasn't said whether they'll return donations if prosecutors prove the funds were linked to anything shady, only stating they're monitoring the situation.
It's going to be such a massive trial, like maybe the biggest Hollywood trial. God knows which way it's going to go. Is it going to go on for weeks? And
for sure.